Next, we have public input. I do have some instructions I need to read. The city takes public comment via email, written format, and verbally. On October 12, 2020, the Urbana City Council approved new rules for public input during remote electronic meetings. These rules are listed on each agenda for city-sponsored public meetings. Members of the public may join meetings as either a Zoom webinar or telephone participant to make verbal input. This is a time for committee members to listen to the public. Discussion, debate, or commentary will not take place during this period. Public comments are limited to 4 minutes per person. Public input will total no more than 1 hour unless shortened or extended by majority vote of the members present. The meeting chair has the option of giving priority to speakers who wish to comment on specific agenda items upon which a vote will be taken. A person may speak once during the meeting and may not cede time to another person. We ask that you address your comments to the public body as a whole and maintain respect for the process and respect for members of the council, city staff, and general public. The meeting chair or member of the public body has the authority to call a speaker out of order for using abusive, harassing, threatening, or defamatory remarks. If the speaker refuses to cease the remarks, the meeting chair may mute the speaker's microphone and will ask the speaker to send the remainder of the remarks via email for inclusion in the meeting record. Thank you for helping us conduct respectful and productive meetings. For webinar participants, if you wish to speak during public input, please raise your hand and use the raise your hand button and wait to be called on by the presiding officer. You must state your first and last name for the meeting record. Telephone participants, if you wish to speak, raise your hand by pressing *9 once. When you are called on by the host or presiding officer, you must state your name and your first name and last name for meeting record. Email input, public comments must be sent prior to the closing of the meeting record. That's at the time of the adjournment unless otherwise noted, to the following address: citycouncil@urbanaillinois.us. The subject line of the email must include the words public input and the meeting date. Emailed public comments labeled as such will be incorporated into the public meeting record. Copies of emails will be posted after the meeting minutes have been approved. Okay. With that out of the way, I do see some hands raised. We'll start with Emily Connor.
Hello. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good evening, Mayor Marlin and City Council members. My name is Emily Connor, and I am reaching out to you on behalf of Ruby's and other local gaming cafes in Urbana. We would like to ask you to consider approving the addition of a 6th VGT in Urbana gaming cafes. As a company, we have 17 locations across the state of Illinois, and all of our other communities are taking advantage of additional licensing fees and tax revenues from simply adding one additional video gaming terminal. We would love for the city of Urbana to be able to take advantage of these same benefits. The approval of this proposal would also help us as a business to offset rising tax fees, the continued increase to minimum wage, as well as to provide additional revenue to offset being closed for 106 days this year to COVID-19 mitigations. As we entered another round of mitigations effective today, with reduced hours and cessation of indoor services, the addition of a 6th video gaming terminal would be extremely helpful. I appreciate the time of the council this evening, and I'm hopeful to see the proposed ordinance on the agenda for the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Beau Barber.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, hi, my name is Beau Barber, and I just wanted to kind of bring up again the topic of utility shutoffs. I commend the council for writing that resolution, and I want to thank you, Mary Marlin, very much for delivering that in person to JP Pritzker. I did want to clarify though, because he on that day that he was visiting in Champaign County there, he told a very blatant lie about him not being able to do anything in regards to the governor's powers. I wish I would have brought up the actual article that it is in the Illinois Constitution, but in the Illinois Constitution, he has the executive powers to put a moratorium on, services, utilities, evictions. And that day he tried to sway the public, or try and fool the public and everyone on saying that, oh, I can't really do too much about it, but he can. And as we're seeing sharp rises right now in COVID-19 cases, it's even more important to try and prevent utility shutoffs, because if people's power is shut off, they can't, if people's powers or water is shut off, they can't wash their hands, right? Which is an important thing that the CDC says people need to be doing in order to prevent, infection and spread of the infection. But as additionally, if you lose power, what are you going to do? I'm going to go, if I lose my power, I'm going to go find whatever shelter I can, especially as the temperatures start to drop. We're lucky we have a somewhat warm week this week, but last week was cold, and soon we're going to be getting colder. And I believe it's like the annual winter, utility moratoriums that go into place, so people don't have to go cold. As far as I recall, it doesn't happen until December. Shutoffs have already been happening since September. We're not going to know the numbers for October until November 15th. And that's going to be a big problem, because as of right now, in Champaign County alone, there was over 200 disconnections for non-pay that already occurred. And although LIHEAP is, it's good that we have LIHEAP and that it's able to help participants. And I guess for anybody that is listening, although, it's best for you to tell your constituents as well, for those on the board, on the council, tell your constituents about LIHEAP and getting in contact with them, because then they can get protected from utility shutoffs. But even with that, there's still several challenges that occur with trying to get the paperwork to go through, do all that stuff. And, people are like, well, just fill out the paperwork and you're fine. Well, as people in the Cunningham Township have attested, that it's like there's people that, maybe have some issues or challenges or physical disabilities, or just, a lot of other things that happen in life that make it impossible, or very difficult for them to do, especially during a pandemic. So I commend you for, again, writing that resolution, and I encourage you to keep speaking out against the governor, for the blatant lies that he told the community last week. And I want to thank you again for that. And yeah, remember to tell your constituents about LIHEAP, because although having a moratorium is the ideal thing, we got to do whatever we can, because if we have a moratorium, we don't have to worry about folks trying to go through all that paperwork on LIHEAP. They're not going to get their power shut off. But I'll end my comments with that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we have Ellen Axelrod.
Alrighty, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, well, greetings from the city of Decatur. I have just spoken to their city council as well. They have had the most utility shutoffs in central Illinois as a city, and their positivity rate is up to over 15%. They're in the process of trying to figure out what they can do, and I gave them some information, including the resolution that was discussed. So I want to point out from the city, the source of the error that was pointed out regarding Patrick Hayes' legal opinion, that was sourced from city staff. There were multiple weeks for that to be corrected. We're all trying to do the best that we can. I hope that we can move forward from that. The other thing from the memo is that the city, even as a home rule government, cannot initiate a moratorium by ordinance. That is true. You have to listen very carefully to what I say next. The city ordinance for Champaign that allows for utility service continuation, Order 12-39 or Municipal Code 12-39 parentheses 26, does so not by ordinance, but by mayoral order. That is legally distinct from the ordinance. So as far as the memo's accuracy goes, it is correct. As far as the home rule municipality's ability to stop utility shutoffs and ensure utility service continuation. As Mayor Deb Finan has said multiple times, the city ordinance 12-39 parentheses 26 is sourced from state statute. Getting back to an earlier comment about Governor J.B. Pritzker's very baffling statement when he had come to Champaign, the Fox News network here actually fact-checked the governor. It wasn't hard to do. I'd been telling everybody about it for months. It is 3305, 20 ILCS 3305/7, parentheses 12. And it says in their own report, which has been up and is unredacted, or unretracted, that the governor may issue an executive order with emergency powers to ensure the continuation of goods and services, regulate and continue goods and services. I might have gotten the words slightly wrong. I'm outside so that I don't disrupt the Decatur City Council. But I think that is pretty clear. There was an email from Bill Brown, thank you for reaching out, about the gap in our existing LIHEAP system. To the best of my knowledge, that is true question mark. We're still trying to figure that out as a county regarding immigrants, undocumented immigrants' ability to get LIHEAP. But I think the most telling thing was when the administrator for CUPHD, Julie Pride, was on the radio with State Rep Carol Ammons talking about the need for our social service providers to have an automatic moratorium to ensure that our residents are protected. Because while there has been an increase in the amount of LIHEAP funding, there has not been an increase in the staff that processes the applications. This has led to other counties, for example, having backlogs as people were made more aware of the LIHEAP application process. But more importantly, the data shows that this process is not safe. Just to reiterate, over 2,000 cases a day since October 7th, over 3,000 cases a day since October 15th, over 3,000 cases a day since October 24th, and over 6,000 cases a day since October 28th. Forgive me, I bungled one of the numbers for the thresholds. I undervalued it. It's worse than what I just said. But the point is that this situation is going to get worse unless if we are rigorous about the information that we act on. So again, mayoral order enabled by ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Christopher Hansen.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Hi, my name is Christopher Hansen. I live in Urbana. I want to speak about your number 9 item on the agenda, discussion of the CPRB ordinance. There's some history here that I think is being missed, and the city administrator, Carol Mitten, said early on that she was devoted to keeping the CPRB on target with its ordinance, but just 10 days ago, we saw her try to bully a complainant into an appeals hearing that hadn't been properly arranged, and then we saw the mayor lie about the reason that the hearing couldn't take place. And now that Mitten can't have her way, she's pouting and she wants to throw all of these police complaints in the garbage.
Could you try to make your comments less personal and direct your comments to the council as a whole? If you look at our organizational chart, you'll see the mayor and council at the top. So we're actually responsible for staff. So if you have a complaint against staff, you can direct it to us.
Yeah, can you reset the time that I lost there?
No.
I'm sorry, no?
I'll give you an extra 15 seconds.
Okay. The issue was brought up of police officers speeding and violating traffic laws as being frivolous. At the very same meeting, you voted on the Vision Zero resolution on reducing traffic fatalities. Urbana cares about traffic safety so much that we have multiple commissions for it, such as the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission and the Traffic Commission. And haven't you discussed the problem of speeding on particular roads at multiple city council meetings this year? Don't you have a $20,000 radar trailer for this purpose? In the past year, I've seen the Urbana city attorney warn the council about liability problems for the city because he felt a parking lot layout did not conform with code. We saw the city attorney warn the council about liability problems for the city if we were to keep certain old growth trees in the city right of way. And this morning, we saw the city attorney concerned about legal liability because a member of the Zoning Board of Appeals made an utterance about a development case that will soon be before the Plan Commission. So now we're talking about Urbana police officers flying through residential areas in their cruisers at 45 to 50 miles an hour, where kids are playing outside, no lights, no sirens, flying through stop signs, and we're calling the issue frivolous. Isn't it exhausting being so hypocritical and stumbling through life, having no clear principles or values? Have you considered what we're teaching our children by acting so unscrupulously? According to the city administrator, many of the police complaints allege that the Urbana Police Department has violated the police complaint process itself. That type of complaint is absolutely the most important type of complaint that could possibly be presented to the CPRB. We could have a complaint about murder or rape or some kind of terrible thing that a police officer did. And if the Urbana Police Department isn't following the complaint process, then it doesn't matter. So why would you want to throw in the garbage issues of the complaint process itself not being followed? Why would you consider that to be frivolous or a nuisance complaint? That's one of the most important things that you could possibly consider. And I think the reason that our city administrator and our chief want to throw these complaints in the garbage is because when they come to light and when they're examined, it's going to become so painfully obvious what they've been doing for months in terms of violating the complaint process, violating the complaint ordinance, and denying complaints and denying access to the complaint process. And I believe that's part of the reason that our city administrator has tried to demonstrate so much administrative cost on her end, because going back and trying to redo the work that they should have done 6-8 months ago has become very complicated for them. And if they hadn't made all those violations from the beginning, we wouldn't be in this situation. The next thing I want to bring up is the issue of FOIA and all of the violations that the council and the mayor and the city legal are now painfully aware of. It's all been well documented, and we have numerous letters from the Illinois Attorney General indicating that the city has violated FOIA repeatedly, that the city has attempted to charge hundreds and thousands of dollars of fees upon individuals. And you have letters from myself, but they've done that to other people too. So I'm wondering why no one has issued a type of response for this. No apologies have been issued, no explanations have been given on how the city and its staff conspired to defraud the residents of Urbana. Are you guys just going to ignore it like you ignore everything else, or are we going to talk about it? As a reminder, I'm open for a chat with you guys anytime. You can vote to cancel the rules and we can have a talk right now. We can discuss all of this and get it settled whenever you want.
Thank you very much. Tracy Chong.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, hi, I'm Tracy Chong from Urbana. First up, it has been more than 2 weeks since Chief Seraphin announced that he had assigned firearms to investigate the issue of the safety mechanism on Officer Eric Ruff's rifle when he assaulted Aaliyah Lewis. When are we going to hear about the findings? UPD has all the footage available and they have the real guns to compare it with. It really should not be that hard to see if his safety was on or off. My guess is it's just taking that long because UPD is probably hoping that this will be forgotten, or they are coming up with some way to justify what happened. So I hope you guys follow up with it. Next, I would like to comment on the abysmal moral values of the city as portrayed by the deceptive nature of city leadership. Last week during the CPRB discussion, Mayor Marlin said that the hearing scheduled for October 23rd was cancelled due to the appellant having scheduling problems. Well, this is not true. The meeting was cancelled because City Administrator Carol Mitton failed to follow the rules stated in the CPRB ordinance regarding scheduling hearings. So Mayor Marlin, were you lied to regarding the reason for the cancellation? Or did you yourself deliberately decide to lie to the public? Once again, Urbana leadership just cannot admit to wrongdoing. They will not say, sorry, we messed up. What can we do to make it right? More deception. During the CPRD discussion, the speaker tried to elicit sympathy and shock by throwing out numbers like 42,000, 120,000. Well, this seems rather manipulative, especially since there was no mention that many of these appeals were going to be grouped as a single hearing. Throughout the whole discussion, there was one point that really didn't make sense. It was mentioned several times that there should be some kind of triage or alternative means to handle the type of complaints that Mayor Marlin called frivolous. First up, complaints like officer speeding, not using proper vehicle signals, not obeying traffic rules are not frivolous. Officers should be held to the same standards as the public. Council member Colebrook said that these complaints, such as misconduct, should be dealt with by UPD with a progressive discipline process. I'm not sure why no one clarified this point, but the way the system is set up right now is that when a resident submits a complaint via the HRC, it is UPD who is supposed to investigate it and take appropriate action. However, what no one seems to realize is that the reason why the complaint snowballs and becomes resource intensive is because this is not happening. UPD, for some reason, is hesitant to investigate the officers and cannot find any wrongdoing with their police officers. Sounds familiar? This results in the police chief issuing a finding letter that says that there's no misconduct, thus no discipline process. So this leads to the dissatisfaction and leads to appeals and so on. So, and either that or Chief Seraphin or Carol Mitten will mishandle the complaint, and then it results in more complaints and appeals. If the complaints were handled properly and there was actual meaningful action taken, there's no reason that the cost is what Carol Mitten came up with. So please don't blame this cost on the resident or the system. If the complaints and appeals are a real cost to the city, then this should be an impetus for the city to do better. There are consequences to police misconduct and mishandling of complaints. If police officers do something wrong, yes, there will be complaints. And as long as UPD leadership does not believe in accountability of their officers, there will be more misconduct and more complaints. It's really easy to lessen the complaints. Just don't come up with creative ways to stuff complaints. Hold your police officers accountable. If police officers know that there will be consequences, officer misconduct will lessen. The answer is not to stop receiving complaints. It's just ridiculous that the answer to the problem of complaints against police officer misconduct is to think of a way to not deal with the complaints instead of addressing the misconduct so it does not happen again.
Thank you. Next is John Kraft.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I only have one short statement or question on the item for purchasing certain real estate, 1411 North Lincoln Avenue. I noticed you said that you're buying it from Kaiser Birch Properties, Inc. And I'm curious if you followed Section 3.1 of the Public Officers Prohibited Activities Act, which requires the seller to identify every member, shareholder, limited partner, general partner, etc., by name in a sworn affidavit prior to entering into a contract. I want to FOIA that information, and I want to make sure that you obtain that information before you enter into this contract to purchase the property. Again, it's Section 3.1 of the Public Officers Prohibited Activities Act, and it's a requirement when you're talking about real estate prior to entering into a contract. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. Next is Evelyn B Underwood.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Yes, I will forego my statement. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Underwood. Good to hear from you. Next is Drake Mateer.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, my name is Drake Mateer. I'm a student graduating senior at the U of I in the College of AHS Community Health. I am here again in support of the no amorous shutoffs, and I just want to say thank you, Alan and Beau, for the work that you have done, and again, thank you, Diane, for stepping up and telling Pritzker about what needs to be done, because we have all seen the powers that be, i.e. Pritzker in this instance, lie directly to the media and lie directly to us that he does not have the power just shows how important your job, everyone that is on council, to actively speak up for the people. We voted for you, we elected you, and you all should be speaking up for us to those who are even above you, because again, the power of the people, ain't no power like the people. So thank you again, Diane, and thank you again, City Council, for moving forward with the resolution regarding the utility shutoffs. But I'm also here to just speak again regarding an issue that is a public health crisis, along with the utility shutoffs, and that is homelessness, and that is food insecurity. Food insecurity is connected. There are deep connections with domestic violence when it comes to food insecurity. Heat or the lack of heat, which includes utility shutoffs, can play a major role in domestic violence as well. And within domestic violence, we know that there are certain circumstances where survivors or victims of domestic violence, usually women, primarily Black and brown women and their children, can end up being homeless. So we already have a homeless population, and which is a public health crisis in itself. But we may have more people end up being homeless because not just of the moratorium ending or the utility shutoffs, but because of the food insecurity, because of the conditions of the world right now that can lead to higher rates of domestic violence, which can lead women and children vulnerable. We must work together to actively create a system that we can feed these people and house people. Now, again, I love Courage Connection, and I love and understand that there's work regarding that, but more work needs to be done. I was looking at the agenda and noticed that you are thinking of purchasing property at 1411 North Lincoln. I'm wondering, and I would love to know exactly what you all were thinking about putting there. I hope that it would be something beneficial for the community and beneficial for people who really need it. Maybe a homeless shelter that's 24/7, not just overnight, or maybe something else that can help benefit people. Again, I believe that if you were to move forward with that purchase, there needs to be something that can help vulnerable populations. I think another thing that can be done, unfortunately, again, I believe public housing for everybody, but again, I know that may not be something that you all maybe can actively do, because if you probably could have, you would have done it already. But I understand that you all have removed benches because the university wanted you to. And so you all have removed benches, leaving homeless people to sleep on the ground, sleep in the cold. Even if you don't want to do public housing, there are certain things that we can do. Putting heaters up at bus stops, so we can talk to the MTD regarding this too. Again, I believe public housing, but again, we should be able to lower the risk. That is what this is about, lowering the risk of deaths that will be on the hands of the city of Urbana and Champaign and even the university if something is not done. So let's find out ways that we can lower the risk. We can lower the risk by implementing heaters at these bus stops, ensuring that we can have code drives for people at these bus stops or for the homeless people. There needs to be a way that we can actively feed these people as well. I know my time is coming to an end, and I have so much that can be said, but thank you again for having this, for allowing me to speak. And again, thank you for the resolution regarding utility shutoffs. You all have a good one.
Thank you very much. Does anyone else wish to speak tonight? I'll just remind folks that you're welcome to send additional comments, whether you spoke or not, to email citycouncil@urbanaillinois.us. Okay, move on to the next item on the agenda.